All right, everyone. Welcome to our Security Plus Day. We're going to be talking all things Security Plus, any concepts and study habits, study strategies, all that type of stuff that will help you get through this exam. Before we get started, there was a question that was asked, and I wanted to make sure that that everyone got the benefit of the answer. So, if you don't mind, can you go ahead and ask that question one more time, please?
Yes, I just took the I got the A+ and Net Plus exam done, and just starting the Security Plus. With having both of those other two exams, is the Security Plus exam still going to be kind of a beast?
It's an excellent question. Okay, so we were just talking about this a little bit earlier, as a matter of fact. But okay, so here's my answer to that. Is Security Plus going to be a beast? Yes. Okay. All of these exams, it really depends on your prior knowledge, right? The experience that you're bringing into these exams. But overall, Security Plus, a lot of people say it's the hardest exam, and personally, I wouldn't necessarily say that. I had a different experience when I was a student. So personally, when I went through the program, A+ was the hardest for me because it was my first experience with CompTIA. As I progressed, each exam, I don't want to say it got easier. They all have their own challenges, but I got used to the structure. I got used to, how CompTIA presents the questions, the type of things that they're looking for and things like that, right? Test taking strategies, things like that. So, with that said, to me, Security Plus was easier because I got the foundation for a lot of the stuff that is covered in security in A+, in the first A+, in the second A+ exam, and Net Plus, right? You get foreshadowing of a lot of stuff. So by the time you get to security, there's quite a bit that is review. For example, troubleshooting steps, ports and protocols, network devices, right? Switches, routers, access points, firewalls, proxy servers, things like that. That's all stuff that is covered in Security Plus that you get your introduction to way back in A+. Okay, so to make a long answer even longer, basically what I'm saying is, knowledge-wise, you have an advantage over someone that hasn't taken A+ or Net Plus that's just going into security, right? Because you've seen that stuff already, right? Plus you're used to the structure of the exams and how CompTIA does things. Okay, now let me tell you where the difference is, and a lot of people get this confused because a lot of people say that Security Plus is harder. It's not a harder exam, it's harder to pass. Okay, and the reason that I say that is it's passing score. Okay, if you notice the scale right here, right, this is a scale of 100 and 900, okay, for Security Plus. All right. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to bring up another scale for Net Plus. Okay, so bear with me. Okay, this is the 007 exam. Oh, actually, sorry, these are course notes. Let me go back. The exam objectives, there we go. Okay, now I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to show you these. Okay, same scale, right? Only difference is the score right here. All right, so let's come back to security for a second. So security is 750, all right? Net Plus is 720, okay? I'm gonna do you one more. Give me just a second. We're gonna go into A+ real quick. And I'm gonna come to the objectives for the 1002 exam, okay? Same deal. The scale is the same, passing score is lower. You see what I'm saying? So, is the exam harder? No. It's no more difficult than A+ or Net Plus, depending on your experience level. All four of them can be difficult or they can be easy to you, just depending on where you are knowledge-wise. But when it comes to passing, the percentages go up progressively, right? If I go down to the 1001, you're going to see the passing score is 675. So, from a knowledge standpoint, no, none of the exams are really harder than the others, in my opinion. It just really depends, right? The the passing score is what makes it more difficult. You have to get a better percentage right. Right here, you're talking about close to 80%, right? That's what it breaks down to. To me, this is going to be about 80%, somewhere around there. Your A plus, your 1001 is probably going to be a little less than that, maybe 78 to 80%. And then as you move forward, it goes up a bit, right? This is going to be probably somewhere around 82%, something like that. And then this is going to be, more like 85%. So hopefully that answers your question. I know I took a while to answer, but it was a good question. I wanted to make sure I addressed all angles of it, because this is something that a lot of people miss. And, percentage-wise, we're doing worse with security, but that's because you have to get a better percentage right. Right? I mean, you can basically get 80, 82, 83% right on this exam and still fall short. Whereas that's not the case with A+. You get a little bit more leniency. So it's more about the passing score than it is the actual knowledge domains, because that really just depends on the knowledge that you bring into each exam, right? That'll determine if an exam is easier or a little bit more challenging than others. So, and that is something that Kelly just mentioned as well. So thanks for that. Okay. Any other questions on that? This passing scale is kind of awkward. But once you do the math, you kind of get an idea of how many questions you need to get right, depending on how many you get. So I've taken quite a few of these exams, and I've never had to answer 90 questions. Well, if you add the survey questions, then maybe the ones at the end of the exam. But as far as the ones that count towards the exam, no. I think the most I've got is probably like 86. Took the 1002 a couple weeks ago, and I got like, I think it was like 78. So, yeah, I've never gotten 90. I've gotten pretty close to it, but I've never got 90. So, yeah, I would agree. I think that there's a lot of acronyms on all the exams. So, to be honest with you, I think this one just has a heavier focus on them. You see a lot more this is more of a terminology-based exam than any of the others. Net Plus is more of a troubleshooting exam, troubleshooting network type stuff. The 1002 is more of a software troubleshooting type exam, right? And then, with the first A Plus being more of a hardware troubleshooting exam. So you see a lot of troubleshooting in those exams, and they actually even fall under the knowledge domains. Troubleshooting has its own knowledge domain, whereas here you don't even really see it. It doesn't mean that you're not going to get troubleshooting and scenario type questions, because you will, but you just don't get as much of an emphasis on troubleshooting as you do compared to like Net Plus or some of the other exams. So yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with you when it comes to acronyms. This one is a little bit more heavy, although the other ones, they have a lot of acronyms in them too. Just make sure you know your acronyms going into whatever exam you're taking. Look for whichever ones you find anywhere in these objectives, anywhere in here. If you find an acronym that you don't know, then make sure you figure out what it is, what it does, what it's used for, what's replaced it, why it got replaced. All that pertinent information, things like that. Okay. All right. Just a quick little overview there of security compared to some of the other exams. All right. So before we get into this, I do have an activity that I want to do. It's going to be on the Pearson simulator, hands-on simulator. But before we do that, I just want to have sort of an open discussion about security in general. Okay, so everyone feel free to participate, or whatever, type your answers or whatever. But here's my question. When it comes to security, all right, when you think of Security Plus, but more specifically, let's say network security, okay, what comes to mind? What are some of the things that you think of when it comes to securing a network or making No, anything. No, it doesn't have to be just a network. Network security is obviously big, and we're going to do activity on that. So that's why I mentioned it. But what are some of the things that you think of? What are some of the things that you want to defend against? What are some of those things? I see one already. Firewalls, right? Absolutely. Hardening the network, right? Can you expand on that a little bit, though, Clinton? When you say harden the network, what do you mean? Right? Give an example of something that will harden the network. It could be something simple, right? Crystal says viruses. Yeah, right? Closed, unused ports. Exactly, right? Threat vectors. That's something big on security. You want to make sure you understand what a threat vector is and how to spot them and what you do, right? You gave a perfect example. You find an unused port that's open, you close it. You get rid of a threat vector. Change default settings in accounts. Absolutely, right? You don't want people to have access to privileged rights. And so, yeah, you have to change passwords. Least privilege. That's something that everyone should be thinking of. ACLs, I love it, right? ACLs is another one. That's something that can obviously, once you get into a little bit of advanced network security, you can set up ACLs, right? And do things like, guard against like team floods and things like that. ACLs are much easier said. Oh yeah, that's right. because and this is something that a lot of you will find out if you move on to Cisco. It's one thing to configure ACL, but then you also have to know, where to put it, right? You have to put it in the right place. It has to go on the right interface, right? And there's a few steps to actually configuring them. There's obviously there's two different kinds. There's your standard, and then you have your extended, and then knowing the difference between them right now is probably as far as you need to go with when it comes to Net Plus. It goes a lot more into. Oh, I'm sorry, we're talking Security Plus today. You go a lot more into detail when you start looking at Cisco stuff and you're configuring and things like that. But yes, it's absolutely right. They're much easier said than done. What else? Patches and updates. Yeah, absolutely. Right. That's some of the things that you want to make sure that you do. Particularly, when you're setting up something new, or if you have to roll something back for any reason, maybe you have to do a system restore. One of the first things that you want to do is updates. Right. Anytime you're going backwards, you have to kind of, it's like Back to the Future, right? You go backward, then you have to come back. Reliable vendors, right? Absolutely. Backups. Backups are big. How many people here have lost valuable information? I have. I'm gonna age myself real quick, but I remember a while ago, a long time ago, I had this big book that used to hold all my CDs in it. For those of you that don't know, CDs are little shiny things that we used to listen to our music on. Right? But yeah, I had a CD book, and there's probably over 200 CDs in there, something like that. It takes a while to build up a CD collection, and I lost it. All my music gone just like that. And I mean, it hurt. I lost a lot of other stuff, but the only thing that really got to me was my music, right? I mean, I lost my whole system, actually. My CD case was in a car that I had. The car got impounded. The impound didn't think I was going to come get my car because it was in there for a while. So when I came to get it, there was a lot of stuff missing. And one of them happened to be my CDs. And I didn't really care about the system. I didn't care about the speakers, none of that. Those are easily replaced. But CDs, no, right? Point being, backup. Right? Nowadays, everything is digital, right? We have, we have digital music. And so it's easy to back it up now, right? I have way more music than I had back then when I had 200 CDs. So I have a lot more to lose, but it's backed up, right? I have it on multiple devices. So if I do lose it, I still have access to it. So Kelly had singles and albums. Yeah, I remember they used to sell singles. remember too. And they used to have the intro. I remember I used to buy the tapes, and you know the tapes would have like the single on one side, and it would have the instrumental on the back. But again, I'm aging myself. I digress. Anyway, yeah, that's all good stuff. Okay, that's the type of stuff that you want to think about when we're talking about security. Okay, despite what many of you may think, security is not really as difficult as a lot of people think. A lot of it is common sense, especially when you're, you know, when they're asking the questions. What CompTIA likes to do is they switch words around and they use wording that confuses us. But this exam is really, it's just about knowing the terminology. Okay, if you can place a definition with an acronym, or if you can place it with a concept, right? If you can differentiate between a few different similar type of things, that's what's going to get you over the hump on this exam, because 80% of it is going to be kind of your base knowledge, just coming through and making sure that you understand the majority of this stuff. And when you're taking these exams, for those of you that have taken CompTIA exams before, you already know, like, the majority of the questions, if you do your homework, a lot of times the answer will stand out. And then, on, I would say 80% of them, the answer will kind of stand out. And then you have another, 15 to 20% where, there's a couple answers that it could be, right? It could be this one, it could be that one. They do that a lot with the troubleshooting questions, and you're kind of on the fence about it. It's like a toss-up, right? And so what you need to do is you need to make sure that you get as many of those toss-ups as you can. But the majority of the information, the majority of the questions, they have a definite answer. And, if you take your time and do your homework and you look for those key words that we're always talking about, you should do fine when it comes to that 80%. So it really just boils down to that other 20, right? And then that's where this gets a lot of people. I don't think that a lot of people fail this exam for lack of knowledge. It's more, comprehension and, making sure that you understand what's being asked and things like that. So that's my experience anyway. It's a breakdown of the exam questions. You also recommend knowing. Okay, I'm not sure who you're speaking of. Our book author. Are you talking about Jason Kelly? Or are you talking about? Oh, okay, Gibson, the book author. There you go. The book author, right? Okay, yeah, that's very important too. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Okay, when you're going through your practice exams, okay, Cert Master or Exam Compass, whatever it is, you're going to come across answers that you get wrong. Okay, it's important. It's important to understand why you got it wrong. Okay, I can't stress that enough, because sometimes you just got it wrong because you didn't understand, you didn't read the question fully, or you missed a word or something. Okay, that's fine. You just, that's kind of just letting you know, hey, make sure you pay close attention. If you're missing a question because you just don't know the answer, it's important to make sure that you research it and you find out why you got it wrong. Because you could very well, especially when it comes to Cert Master, Cert Master does a good job of sticking to the objectives, what you see in the objectives, and so does the exam for the most part. With the exception of those few left field questions that they like to throw at us. I don't know why, but for the most part, Cert Master does a good job of sticking to the objectives and what you're going to see on the exam. Even if they don't word them exactly the same, they do a good job of, sticking to the info that you need to know. So, and then the other thing that Cert Master does is when you get something wrong, it breaks it down for you, explains it. It says, hey, this is this. Let's say that you got a port question wrong and it had ping, traceroute, IP config, and ARP in it, right? Well, if the answer is ARP and you chose traceroute, well, what it's going to do is when the time comes, it's going to take you back and it's going to say, okay, this was what you picked. This was what you should have picked. This is why, right? This is what ping is. This is what traceroute is. This is what it does. This is why you would use it, right? This is what ARP does. This is what IP config does, right? So it gives you a chance to go back and say, okay, not only did I get this wrong, but I understand why I got it wrong, okay? it's not about memorizing the question because that's easy, right? That's the easy part. If I see one question and I get it wrong the first time and then I find out what the answer is, when I see the question again, I'm going to know what the answer is because I already seen it. But the point is you want to make sure you want to understand why you got it wrong, okay? You could get the same question worded in a different way on the actual exam, and if you don't understand why you got it wrong, then it's going to throw you off. If you just memorize the question versus understanding why you got it wrong. So, yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. It's a very, very good concept to talk about. He also suggests you are ready when you can pass all practice exams, not memorize, with 90% or better. Yeah, if you're using a multitude of practice exams, right? So online expert, let's say, right? You're scoring good there, and then you go to CertMaster, and you're scoring good here. You go to Exam Compass, and you're scoring good there. You go to Pocket Prep, and you're getting 90% there. Well, yeah, I mean, you got the majority of the information down, right? I mean, you're barely missing 10% on exams that are structured differently. So that gives you a good gauge of where you are. If you can do 90% or better on a bunch of practice exams, and chances are you're going to do close to 90% or better on the actual exam. Okay, as long as you're not, you're not getting 90% on the exam that you're taking the 5th time. Okay, that just tells you that your memory works. Okay. Yes, Jeff, you are supposed to get a book along with the Sec Plus course, if I'm not mistaken. I know for a while, Jason's workbook was replacing the actual physical one that we were sending out. But I believe that everyone is getting a book, as far as I know. Even I have that book, the Get Certified, Get Ahead. I have that one from when I was a student. So if you don't have it, what I would do is just get with your vet rep if you want it, right? Some people don't learn from reading, so the book is just going to collect dust. And also, very important, I want to go into the stipends and pay and all that, but if you're someone that reads, if you're someone that wants to read, you have to make sure that you're keeping track of the time that you're spending reading, because I know some voc rehab counselors, they won't even certify reading hours because they can't be verified. So just to, I just want to throw that out there. I mean, reading is definitely an option. If it's how you learn it, you definitely want to do it. But just keep in mind that you may not get certified hours for it, just depending on your voc rehab counselor. So, but yeah, if you want the book, then just get with your voc rehab, your vet rep. Let them know that you didn't receive it, and they should be able to get it out to you, no problem. No problem at all. Okay. A lot of practice questions with reasons for right and wrong. Yeah, I mean, that's really what it's about. I mean, you want to gauge where you are prior to going into the exam, but for the most part, what these are is they're teaching tools. What these should be, they should be teaching tools, right? So as you're going through and you understand what you're picking up on and what you understand, but even more so, you understand the stuff that you're missing, and the stuff that you're not picking up on, and why you're not picking up on it. And that's really what preparing for these exams is about. Is just looking for your weaknesses. Looking for what areas you feel like you're weak, and then just attacking those areas until you feel stronger about it. That's what these exams are about. Okay, so like I was saying, I was just talking about like some of the review. If you look here under technologies and tools, and they're like 2.1, like everything here has been discussed already. If you started with A+, and then you progress, right? So A+, and then Net+, and then finally Security+. All of this stuff has been kind of brought to the forefront already, and so this is just kind of review. And in some instances, it's taking it a little bit further into, instead of just IPS versus IDS, you got NIPS, right? And then it goes a little bit more into the characteristics, right? The different characteristics and things like that. So some stuff is just basic review. Some stuff it elaborates a little bit more on, right? But either way, I mean, you can see a lot of stuff here that you've probably seen already. So, okay, we're about at the halfway point. So I have this tool here that I like to use. This is a tool from Pearson. Most of you probably seen this already. I use it quite a bit. But it does have activities that are relevant to just about all, the main three, right, which would be A+, Net+, Security+. It's more of a networking simulating tool, but it does have aspects of security in it. So I'm going to do one of these. I think I want to go over maybe types of network threats and attacks. I think that's a good one to go over. Terminology. It's important to know the terminology on these exams, right? To be able to put a definition with a protocol, or with an encryption type, or, with a specific type of attack, right? Those type of things. Because that's what's going to give away the answers that you're looking for. A lot of the times, it's just kind of the characteristics that you're looking for. So, with that said, give me a second. Okay. So yeah, let's take a look at this one. All right. Not everyone may know the answers or not, but if you don't know the answer, it's fine, because one of the things that you're going to be able to do on the exam is they give you a matching question like this. Same thing, right? Just find the ones that you know first, and then if you end up having to guess on a few, at least your percentages are a lot better. So, got the chat window up. Okay, so we'll do like we did last week. I think we did an activity here last week too. We just started at the top and then went down. If you think you know the answer, shout it out, type it in the chat box, and we'll see if we agree or if we don't. And then at the end, we can check the answers and see how many we got right. Okay, so let's start at the top. Okay, so an attempt to render part of all of a network device, network or network device useless by artificially creating congestion. What does that sound like out of these over here? You could automatically, throw out the ones that that it's not. It's pretty easy to do that. Normally, it'll boil down to a couple, sometimes one or two. So, let's see. Got a couple answers here. We got Smurf. We got denial service, distributed denial service. What else? Also, what I want you guys to think of when you're putting your answers, think of the keywords, right? What is it that is making you go one way or another, or are you just guessing, right? Look for the keywords, right? Kelly says congestion, right? Artificially creating congestion. Yeah, it sounds like a keyword, right? An attempt to render part of all of a network or a network device useless, right? So basically, yeah, that's pretty much the definition of one of these up here. Does anyone have any other thoughts other than, yeah, most of you are saying denial service. That's what it sounds like to me, right? It's pretty much the definition of a denial service. It's a textbook definition. You're trying to render it useless by creating congestion. Yeah, right. So pretty comfortable with that one. Next one, unsolicited email whose intent is to procure information about the user, often in the form of passwords and account information. Okay. So this one, what do you guys have? Okay, we have one, spoofing. What else? Don't forget about the keywords, right? Not just spoofing or phishing, but why? What is it that gives it away to you? Okay, so we have a few phishing there. Yeah, Jeff, it actually is a Net Plus simulator. We're going through the network security section. So all of this is relevant to Sec Plus. Trust me. Most of this stuff you're going to see in Security Plus. You're not going to see in Net Plus. Okay. yeah, so we have a lot of, okay, so guys kind of all sound in unison here, right? Phishing because of email, right? Email, procure information, right? Basically, it's a form of, it's a form of social engineering. It's a specific form, right? So out of everything here, yeah, it's probably going to be phishing. I would have to agree. All right. Now, it's important, even though it's not here, there's another one here that's similar to phishing, that's vishing, right? Which is, it's a more focused form of phishing, okay? But my point is, make sure that you understand the difference between those because, there's similar concepts, but one's a little bit more focused and targeted than the other. And so, if you get that on the exam, as long as you know the difference between those, it won't throw you off, okay? Yeah, that's a good way to think of it. Then there's another one, right? There's spear phishing, right? So there's phishing and there's spear phishing, and then there's vishing, right? So just find a way to, to differentiate between those, and you'll be all right. Okay, next one. Ping request is given a spoof source address so that replies overwhelm the spoof victim. This one here. Which could this one be? So we have one down. Oh yeah, Welling is another one. This is not here. Okay, so this one we have. Okay, we have a couple different ones. Well, actually, it looks like we're in unison again. We do have another one though. Okay. So what keywords are you guys looking at? Kelly's on it, right? King. Yeah, King is a keyword. It is a keyword. But you have to read the entire phrase, right? Read the entire thing, right? The ICMP flood is more of it's like a denial of service, right? With this one, I think Kelly was on it, right? Because you're spoofing the source address, right? So you're sending out a ping, but you're changing the source address so that the reply goes somewhere else, right? That doesn't really, that kind of eliminates ping flood. Because in a ping flood, what you want to do is you want to overwhelm the server or whatever it is with pings so that it doesn't work, right? Here, what we're doing is we're sending out a ping, but the source address is spoofed, right? So the replies are coming back to someone else, right? You sent out a ping, but the replies, the overwhelming part is going back to whoever the victim is, okay? So in this instance, I understand why most of you would say ICMP, right? Because what you're doing is you're associating ICMP with ping, right? But it's not just about that. It's about what's actually going on, right? And the ping is more of a denial of service. This one, you're kind of, you're sending out a ping, but you're changing the source address so that the replies are coming back to someone else instead of overwhelming whoever you're pinging, whatever device you're pinging. So yeah, in this instance, we're going to be looking at Smurf, right? That's going to be your definition. Yeah, and they are kind of similar. She put the whole definition in there. There you go, right? So very, very important, okay? Because this is something that can definitely happen on the exam, right? Jason calls them 50-50 balls, right? It's like it's kind of up for grabs. There's a couple of them that probably don't fit, and then there's two that are very similar, and then there's something in there that kind of differentiates between what you're looking for in the other one. So, yeah, always make sure you pay close attention, especially when you see a couple of them that it could be, all right? Okay, let's see. A type of malware that replicates itself without user intervention. Yeah, which one would that be? This is kind of a straightforward one, right? And it's looking like it so far. Yeah, they didn't trick anyone with that one. So, yeah, that's going to be your worm, right? Your worm can obviously, it's just about knowing the characteristics, right? So we should be good there. Next one. Substitution of another IP address in place of the real one for purpose of redirecting or misleading. What about this one? Let me make sure that all the answers are in the, there we go. What are we thinking? Okay. All right. I see a lot of similar answers, right? But what gives it away? Very important. Because, some of these you guys will know, some of them you won't know. But the important thing is knowing, being able to differentiate, right? Finding what it is. Like, why is it this one versus another, right? Right. And Kelly kind of, both of you did, right? Clinton says purpose of misleading, right? I mean, that has a lot of different applications, especially in security. But yeah, Kelly kind of hit it on the nail, right? Substitution of another IP in place of the real one. That's spoofing, right? There's really no other way to to break it. That's kind of the definition of what that is. So, yeah. Okay. Next one. Malware that requires a host machine to replicate itself to other hosts. User usually instigates the replication unknowingly. Everyone should know what this is. Haven't we all done this, right? Yeah, we have a bunch of, looks like everyone's on it. For Trojan, I would need a little bit more information for me to land on that, right? Just because, Trojan has a very specific definition behind it, right? And so, if I were to go there, I would probably need to hear, I would probably need to see, okay, something hiding inside of something else, or something like that. That would give it away. So, not that Trojan doesn't fit here. It isn't the best fit here. Not to me. Out of everything that's left, to me, this sounds more like a virus. So, okay. Next one: a type of malware that poses as a legitimate program in hopes that a user will activate it. Type of malware that poses as legitimate in hopes that the user will activate it. Maybe I need to scroll down a little bit more. Okay. So now they're saying it's a Trojan, right? It kind of sounds a little bit more like it. We have a couple other ones. Or actually, no, it looks like he took it away. So, yeah, this one sounds a little bit more like a Trojan to me because it's, it fits better than Trojan fits up here, right? So I would more than likely, yeah, I would put Trojan here. I tend to agree with everyone else there. So, okay. All right, this one. A virus that hides inside documents, such as word processing or spreadsheet files. Yeah, you guys are already on that one, right? Yeah, the key word here, obviously being, the virus hides inside documents, right? So Word, and when you think about macros, you think about Word, right? You think about Office. So, yeah, in this instance, it's going to be your macro viruses. Pretty self-explanatory there. Okay. Let's look at the next one. Program that that install as part of a free program in which gathered information about a user's application usage, including websites visited. Program that installs itself as part of a free program. Let's see. Everyone pretty much in agreement here. Does anyone disagree? Yeah, out of everything left, the only one that fits best here is going to be spyware. All right. Keywords, you're trying to gather information, right, about application usage, websites visited, key locker type stuff, right? You want to see what key someone's typing, that type of stuff. So, yeah, spyware. Okay, next, used by hackers to trick employees into giving up information under false pretense. Out of everything that's left, yeah, probably, it's basically the textbook definition, right? You guys are all on it. There's no fooling you here. Social engineering, that's what it is. So just make sure you understand like the basic definition. Sometimes they just want the basic definition. Sometimes they're giving you a specific type of social engineering, right? So just make sure that you're paying close attention, because they do tend to throw a lot of similar answers. Like they could ask you about spear fishing and throw fishing and fishing and whaling in there, and that type of deal. So just be prepared for those. Okay, any unauthorized programming code covertly installed without the user's consent. Jeff Andrew Clinton. Who else? Thoroughly read the whole question and all the answers. Yeah. Sometimes twice. I often have to do it twice just to double check. So you guys said that's malware. Yeah, not everything. It's not ransomware. It's not ICMP flood, right? It's not man-in-the-middle, so yeah, it's probably going to be malware, right? Unauthorized programming code. Sounds like the definition of malware. Okay. All right, this one. Port 7 attack intended to overwhelm the resources of the receiving machine. Which one is that going to be? There we go. We found the right one this time, right? So it wasn't necessarily about ping. It was more about what's actually going on, right? When you talk about ICMP flood, this is the definition when you're trying to overwhelm the resources of the receiving machine. And up here, we're trying to overwhelm someone else, but the ping is being replied to, right? So the ping is going out, but it's being replied to. Here, we're trying to overwhelm the machine that's receiving the ping. So that's what separates those two. Awesome job. Okay, so we only have 4 left. Use of hardware or software to copy all data packets on the circuit for the purpose of examining contents. Sniffing. So sniffing or packet sniffing, which one? We have a couple packet sniffers. Packet sniffing, okay. No one says sniffing attack? Everyone agrees? Okay. Everyone says packet sniffing, so I'm going to come here. All right, next. Intruder can intercept sent messages in specific session, right, in a specific session to capture, manipulate, or just view the data. And yeah, everyone is kind of in unison, same man in the middle. Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, especially with what a man in the middle is, right? Keyword, intercept, right? You're intercepting in a specific session, right? Yeah, out of what's left, that's going to pretty much give it away. And then down here we have active capture of data packets for the purpose of discovering usernames, password, port numbers, and so on. All right, so sniffing attack. And then the next has to be ransomware, a type of program that is used to block access to data. All right, workstation itself. Yeah, that fits. Workstation itself unless the demand is met. Right, that's pretty much the. How many people have experiences or know someone that has? A real common one is encryption, right? Someone gets something on your PC and then starts encrypting your files, right? And then once they're encrypted, you don't have access to them, right? You need a key, and someone sends you a message and say, hey, you want access to all your stuff? You want this key? You're gonna have to give me money, right? For the most part. Who knows the best way to avoid ransomware or to avoid that specific one? Backups is one, yeah. But let's say you don't have backups and you just notice something weird. Let me ask you this. How many people have ever encrypted something, a drive, some files? Anyone? Files in the class? Okay. Was it fast or did it take a while? Kind of depends on the size, right? But yeah, so for the most part, encryption takes a while. It's not something that's going to be done like that, especially if you're talking about a large amount of files. If it's something small, like, let me use like a form of media, like music, all right? Or music or pictures, right? Pictures will probably go really fast because they're not using a lot of media. It's, the file sizes are small. But when you start talking about other things like music, it gets bigger, right? When you go into to movies and things like that, it gets bigger, right? And things like that. So what you want to do is, if you think that someone's encrypting the stuff on your drive, just disconnect from the network, right? It has to go all the way through to be fully encrypted. And if you can cut off that connection, then you'll save yourself. But the number one thing you want to do is make sure you have all your stuff backed up. That way, if someone encrypts it, they'll be like, hey, it's okay, I still have all my stuff. Okay. Anyway, let's take a look at this. Do we feel 100% comfortable here? Or is there anything that we want to change? No changes? Going once? Going twice? All right, let's look. Knocked them out. Awesome job. Okay. So this is just a few of the terminology and and concepts that you need to make sure that you not only understand, but you can put a definition with a concept, okay, with a protocol, whatever it is, with a social engineering or whatever the concept is, okay. The terminology is really first, because this is what they use to get a lot of people on the exam is, they'll throw this ping in here because they know a lot of you are going to go straight to ICMP. They'll do it on purpose, okay? Because they know, okay, ping, and then most people say, oh, well, I know ping is ICMP, so, we'll go right to that. Just be very careful. Like Kelly said, read the entire question. Every time, read it. If you feel like you missed a word, read it again. Okay, just make sure you fully understand what they're asking so that you don't miss easy ones, because this isn't an easy one to miss, but it is. It's real easy if you just key in on ping here. Okay, if you read the whole thing and you understand what a Smurf is, this is the definition of it. But don't let one word, because and I say it a lot, right? I say sometimes it's one word, sometimes it's the entire sentence. So just make sure that you read everything and that you understand fully what's being asked of you. That way you don't miss easy ones. Okay, you got to get all the easy ones you can because, like I said, 8 out of 10. I don't want to call them easy. I'm just gonna say if you do your homework, it's you should be able to differentiate one from the rest of them. Okay, on 8 out of 10 of them. All right, that's been my experience with CompTIA. Okay, and then there's those other two that kind of have you on the fence. Okay, and those are the ones where you can hit or miss. But if you can nail those 8, then you have a really good shot. You only need to hit really a few of those 50-50 ones, and you'll pass. Even if it's by a few points, okay, you'll pass. And that's really what it's about. Okay, it's not about your score. My last score for the 1002, it wasn't good at all. Percentage-wise, I did better than I did on the 1001. I got more right on the other exam, but I needed to. I was closer to failing the second one than I was the first one, even though I scored at a higher percentage. So it's those 50-50 ones that kind of, they kind of tilt you one way or another. So it's really about making sure that you nail all of these ones, right? Don't let anything confuse you or throw you off. Okay. Good job. Got them all right. So you guys are on top of it. Most of you were kind of hitting all of them. So there's a few more in here. I know someone mentioned that this says Net Plus, and it does. This is a Net Plus hands-on simulator. But just keep in mind there's a network security section here, also in Net Plus, that addresses security. So most of the stuff that you see here is related directly to security, and you'll more likely see this on security than you will in Net Plus. Okay, so I just wanted to stress that. Okay. No worries. Kelly has to take off. No worries at all. Hope you guys were able to pull something from this. Are there any other questions or concepts that anyone wants me to address? Okay, so anyway, just keep in mind, security, there's a lot of terminology in this exam, okay, which is why I like doing activities like those, because that's mostly what you're going to see. It's not so much about troubleshooting like it is in networking and in A+. It's a lot more about understanding the terminology and the secure protocols and things that you would use and the ones that you wouldn't use. And a lot of different concepts like that. Okay, so that's why I like doing these activities as opposed to, in tomorrow's session I'll have one of my virtual environments up, and we'll be doing like hands-on stuff with switches and routers and stuff. But here I like to focus on the terminology because that's mostly what you're going to see. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, so if there's nothing else, we'll go ahead and end the session. Everyone, thanks for attending. And don't forget, if you have any other questions about what you're going to see, or if you just want to go over concepts, just shoot me an email, troberts@learnkey.com, or my extension is 139. Just give me a call and we will chop it up. All right. Thanks for attending. See you all next time.